for me, it really boils down to the customer, right? What do we mean by future proofing? We mean that the networks need to continue to, operate in their current form and supply customers as they have been doing in the future, And I think for that to happen, given that there's increasing choice in the market, right, it really needs to pivot towards a focus on what customers want. Previously when regulation was different and customers didn't have as much choice to leave the network and build on-site solar or etc. I think there was more of a luxury of monopoly. Whereas now it's just a reality that the government and regulators have, in my view, moved in. It's a positive movement. They've allowed for different types of solutions for customers. No limits on self-supply, etc. I think what that has also then created, though, is it's created pressure on network owners and operators and suppliers to be competitive. Because without that, you've obviously got this risk of what we call off-grid flight, right? So customers taking it into their own hands, the power into their own hands, and leaving the networks, and that creates or accelerates the negative effect on municipalities that are at the moment under enormous pressure, which we understand. So what with that as the main factor, right? The customer being king. I think municipalities have to think about future-proofing with that in mind, right? And so we believe that future-proofing is obviously that we are part of that solution, right? So that a trading model is part of that solution. We've discussed grid centricity, opening up the network to private operators, private traders, private sector is part of that solution to mitigate off-grid flight, to provide a competitive solution to customers on the network so that they're incentivized to stay on that network rather than do something else. We think that's very important for future proofing in the municipal space. What I would also say is, of course, that it's true we get asked quite a lot about this feels like a solution that could only really benefit bigger business in South Africa, your bigger companies, etc. And you spoke about local economic development. I think for me, what's very important is that we also have to remain, focused on the medium term, right? It's true that in the first instance, maybe the companies doing the deals or whoever in the first instance that might benefit directly are larger, bigger businesses, right? But we have to understand that in the medium term, this solution is general, right? Because the more companies that offtake this cleaner, more affordable power and facilitate the construction of new power assets in our country, the better it is for everybody, right? So if you think about it, the load shedding, is a function of there's not enough supply of power. So if we have, I think even the Vodacom CEO spoke about this the other day, 100 companies, as an example, that underpin 100 megawatts of new 10 times 100 megawatts, sorry, 100 power plants of 100 megawatts, right? That's 10 gigawatts of new supply. So of course that's a maybe an optimistic scenario. But what that is showing you is that the private sector and business can help to underpin the grid for everybody, right? To help mitigate load shedding for everybody in the medium term. So I think with that in mind, it's very important to think about that. Of course, linked to local economic development, if you have a wheeling solution inside these municipalities, you are, as we said, mitigating off-grid flight. So preserving people's jobs, creating maybe jobs in areas of strengthening of the grid. So being able to I guess strengthen the job market locally in these networks, I think is super, super key. And of course, minimize kind of what we have seen, which is a big burden and pressure on local balance sheets in these municipalities. So I think that this is a force for good. It's always hard. There's always trade-offs and nothing is perfect. But we believe that on balance, that, privatizing or facilitating opening up of these networks is generally a force for good for everybody, right? And that's our strong belief.